Good morning. My name is Clarissa Crow, and welcome to the Albuquerque Center for Spiritual Living's virtual Sunday service. Whether you're joining us on YouTube or on Facebook Live, we're so happy that you've chosen to be with us today. And if you are new to us, please type something into the chat feed. We'd love to know that you're here and start getting to know you. So if you would please join me in saying our Albuquerque Center for Spiritual Living mission statement. We are love in action, transforming lives, transforming communities. So that's what we're about here at the center, and we've got a great service in store for you today. We have a couple of questions here for you to ponder throughout the service and throughout the week. And we really encourage everyone to type your thoughts and your answers into the chat feed. So here are the questions. What are the ways you check out in an attempt to feel safe? And what are ways you can check back in with yourself to connect with your divine nature? So just be thinking about that as the service goes on. And now it is time for our candle blessing. So I light this candle today to honor and celebrate our amazing ministers here at ABQCSL. Reverend Amani Malaika, Reverend Rebecca Allen, Reverend Amanda Ganley, and our ministerial intern, Jane Midgley. Great gratitude to you four amazing women for loving us and holding us in prayer and seeing the truth of who we are and just providing us with such a safe space to express ourselves. You are our rock, and we love you so much.
Hello, I'm Joylyn Hertz. I'm a practitioner here at the Albuquerque Center for Spiritual Living. I'd like to first say thank you to all the people who dedicate their time and talent to putting on this service, and especially to you who make this possible for us. I invite you to bring your attention to your heart space. Knowing that there is only one life, that life is God's life, that life is perfect, and that life is my life now. I say thank you. Thank you for the gift of being in this presence of God, the love of God, the peace of God, knowing that God is all there is, and the rest we make up. Knowing this to be the truth, I hold the presence of this service, the heart of this service in my mind and my heart, knowing that all is well, that all is good, that everything is unfolding in perfection, knowing that we are here as one in this virtual service, in this community of love and peace and joy and service, and that we know that all is well. Knowing this to be the truth, I release my word, knowing that it cannot come back to me void, with deep gratitude. Our sacred reading today is The Prayer Tree by Michael Lunig. A person kneels to contemplate a tree and to reflect upon the troubles and joys of life. It is difficult to accept that life is difficult, that love is not easy, and that doubt and struggle, suffering and failure are inevitable for each and every one of us. We seek life's ease. We yearn for joy and release, for flowers and the sun. And although we may find these in abundance, we also find ourselves lying awake at night, possessed by the terrible fear that life is impossible. Sometimes when we least expect it, we wake up overwhelmed by a massive sense of loneliness, misery, chaos, appalled by the agony and futility of existence, or so we think. It is difficult indeed to accept that this darkness belongs naturally and importantly to our human condition. Nature requires that we have the darkness of our painful feelings and that we respect it and make a bold place for it in our lives. Nature requires that we form a relationship between our joy and our despair, that they not remain divided or hidden from each other. For these are the feelings which must cross-pollinate and inform each other in order that the soul be enlivened and strong. It is the soul, after all, which bears the burden of our experience. It is the soul through which we love. It is the soul which senses most faithfully our function within the integrity of the natural world. This matter requires our imagination. In particular, it requires the aspect of imagination we have come to know as prayer. Might not prayer then be our most accessible means to reconciliation? Inward reconciliation. A natural healing function in response to the pain of the divided self and divided world? Might not prayerfulness be part of our survival instinct, belonging more to the wilderness than to the church? The person contemplates the tree. The tree sends its roots beneath the surface, seeking nourishment in the dark soil, the rich, broken down matter of life. As they reach down and search, the roots hold the tree firmly to the earth. Thus held and nourished, the tree grows upward into the light, drinking the sun and air and expressing its truth. Its branches and foliage, its flowers and fruit. Life swarms around and into it. Birds and insects teem within its embrace, carrying pollen and seed. They rest and nest and breed and sing and buzz. They glorify creation. The tree changes as it grows. It is torn by wind and lightning, scarred by frost and fire. Branches die and new ones emerge. The drama of existence has its way with the tree, but still it grows. Still, its roots reach down into the darkness. Still, its branches flow with sap and reach upward and outward into the world. A person kneels to contemplate a tree and reflect upon the troubles and joys of life. The person imagines mornings and evenings in a great forest of prayers, swarming and teeming with life. The person is learning how to pray. Let us stay in this moment of contemplation. I invite you to take a breath in, breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. Allowing your shoulders to fall easily from your chin, allowing your body to relax, allowing your mind to relax, allowing your soul a moment of silence. Knowing that we are called here by divine appointment, that there is only one life, that we are here because we said yes. As we continue to relax, breathing in and breathing out. I invite you to imagine yourself prayerfully in an outdoor natural setting. Perfect temperature, perfect environment as you just walk slowly, purposefully, gently, as you release everything that's not serving your highest good in this moment. Creating a dynamic of knowing that spirit lives within you. As you continue the walk, you continue to release everything that is not in service to you in this moment. You release those thoughts that are no longer serving you, making room for all the incredible creations your mind is in the process of creating. As you continue to walk, you continue to relax. You continue to know that you are held. You are loved. You are supported in every area of your life. And so, as we continue this relaxing and releasing process, I invite you to bring your body to a standstill. Bring your body to a place that feels comfortable to you. Bring your body to this time and place as we continue our day, our service, our love, our peaceful interactions. I invite you to put your hand on your heart, knowing that this is where God resides, knowing that God lives in, through, and around me and you, that we're as close as placing our hands on our heart at any given time. So in your next in-breath, open your eyes and bring yourself back to the present moment. Know that you are precious to me, and so it is.
deepest kind of life. Oh, get ready, my soul. 'Cause everything I've ever done, oh, everything I've ever seen, everything I've lost or won, and everything I've ever dreamed, it's brought me here to this present moment, here to a new beginning, here, and I'm seeing life so clearly now. Oh, get ready, my soul. I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in to the deepest kind of life, to the sweetest kind of love. Get ready, my soul. Get ready, my soul. Oh, get ready, I'm ready, my soul.
Hi, my name's Maddie Suarez, and I'm a practitioner here at the Albuquerque Center for Spiritual Living. And I want to welcome you here to our virtual sanctuary. I'm actually here today, pretty exciting, so I'm excited about that, to be in the sanctuary with you. Welcome. I have some really wonderful news to share with you. Chaplain Alicia, who is a practitioner as well, she used to be here and now she's come back to our center, and we're so happy to have her here. And we have a video from her, which is very beautiful. So I want you to take a look.
Hi, my name is Chaplain Alicia. I'm a new member at the Albuquerque Center for Spiritual Living, or I guess I should say reconnected. I grew up in this philosophy, and First Church was the place that I started in the mid-70s. I'm proud and honored to be back in this congregation, and the thrill of love and action is just a beautiful thought to me. I want to just share a story with you that Reverend Amani has kind of taken off with when I told her my experience. And this experience happened about 15 years ago. I was a stage 3 breast cancer, at that point, fighter. And I had just finished 32 radiation treatments, 16 chemo treatments, and a double mastectomy. And my family, having been relieved that I had made it through that year of change and learning about who I was and how strong I was, decided we'd take a little celebration trip down to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, and just to reconnect with life reblossoming again. And one of the things that happened in that journey was, as a family, we one evening walked down onto the boardwalk, and families were about, and the ocean was just beautiful and the sun was setting on it. And we saw all the celebrations going on, the artists and the kids running about. And we decided to stop at a little restaurant there that overlooked this whole scene. And we walked in and sat down, and they sat us at a table that was right at the front wall near a window that wasn't a window, just an arched framed space. And I sat there with this beautiful archway looking out over the ocean and the sunset. And as the sky began to darken, there was 6 or 8 people that came out. There was this huge pole, like a telephone pole, that was on the beach. And people came in white dress, and they tied themselves with ropes on this journey that they started running in a circle around this pole. And as they did, it lifted them off the ground and they spiraled upward. And it was just such a beautiful scene through this window. The recognition of the life that it took to celebrate and just dance in the sky. They had colored lights on their belts, and as they twirled, it was just became more and more beautiful, and people just continued to stop and watch as this scene unfolded. And I watched the people in the crowd and their joy of these people in flight on this pole, and the recognition of how risky that was, but just that they had embraced the beauty of the celebration of just dancing with their feet not touching the ground. And as I'm sitting there, that recognition came into being, that I had just survived that as well, that I had taken a risk, that I had gone through some very risky things, and that I chose to celebrate life through it. And the next thing that happened was this beautiful waiter came up and had this amazing smile, and the life within him just caught my attention. And the small restaurant that we were sitting in, I could see the sign, the name, and it was called Carencia. And I asked the waiter, what does Carencia mean? And he said, well, it doesn't directly translate. He said, and it's not something that I can explain, but he said, but I can tell you what it is. He said, when bullfighting happens, we know that the bull is part of spirit as well. And when they enter the ring, the first place that they look for is Carencia, that sacred space where they know that they are safe in the midst of chaos, that in that space they can be exactly what God intended them to be, and they find their full strength in it. Nothing can touch them there, no matter all the chaos that goes on around them. And as I looked out over that ocean and the beautiful colors that were coming from the dancers in the sky and the people with their faces just beaming up in the sunset over the ocean, I recognized that in that journey of that year of going through cancer treatment, I had found my Carencia. I had found that space where I was at peace with whatever happened, because I knew that Spirit was leading it all, directing it all. And it created a safe haven for me, a space that nothing can touch. And in that space, I found the strength to find the blessings of that year, which ended up being numerous. It was a fearful thing to go through, but when I surrendered to knowing that I wasn't in control, only Spirit was in control, my carencia happened immediately. In here, it happened. In the space that I've created since then, it's become part of who I am and how I choose to be seen in the world and how I choose to uplift people to recognize their carencia in any time that there is challenge or chaos. It's not a spot that stays in one spot. It moves with us. It moves with us into more chaotic moments, a pandemic, not being able to hug each other. It comforts us in knowing that Spirit has a greater plan for all of that. And when we come out to the other side of it, it is much easier to see. I know that right now all of us are developing carencia for ourselves. All of us are being guided to recognize the hardship that we're going through and the blessings that will take away. So what I have to say to you is actively seek carencia within yourself and build it outside of yourself, knowing that what happens was intended to happen. And when you seek it in peace, the action of love moves us to carencia. Go seek it.
Wow. Wasn't that a beautiful story from Chaplain Alicia? I thank her so much for sharing that with us. It was such a wonderful thing to think about and beautifully spoken. So beautiful. Thank you so much. So I have a few things to fill you in on, some wonderful things that are happening. We have a all-day retreat planned. I know, exciting times. And it's August 29th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., and it's called Soul Care. The heading is Growing Our Inner Capacities in a Time of External Uncertainties. And I kind of think of it as soul food. So it's going to be all day long, 9 to 5 Mountain Standard Time. But if you live in another time zone, please join us. Anybody's welcome. It's on Zoom. And it's going to be a different hour, every hour of a different practice. Some will be movement, some will be writing, some will be prayer. Just an amazing day of fun and growing our spiritual capacities and connecting with others. So we have this great day planned for you. Again, it's August 29th, and you can go on ABQCSL.org to find out all about it and sign up. It's $50 to attend, and if you'd like, you can pay $100 and pay for someone else that maybe doesn't have the funds. And we also accept a love donation. So we really want everyone to feel free to come and join us and have just an amazing day that I think we all deserve a retreat, don't we? I think we all do, absolutely. August 29th. Again, we have classes going on right now in, I'm going to forget it, self-mastery, even though I'm in that class. But we have different classes going on right now, and classes are going to start probably in September, some new classes. So always check out the website, abqcsl.org, to find out that information on upcoming classes. And classes are a great time to connect with others. And if you want to become a practitioner, you can take classes that are credited to get you on your path in that direction. So check it out. We also have spirit groups that are going on right now. And spirit groups are groups of people that are meeting on a certain subject. Maybe they're reading a book together or they're doing some sort of practice together. And those are ongoing right now. Spirit groups are happening, and once this group is over, we'll have new ones starting. And if you ever want to be a part of a spirit group or you want to be in charge of a spirit group, you can go on the website, abqcsl.org, to get more information on that. It's a great place to connect with people, and they're all on Zoom at this point, so you can do it from anywhere. So please join us for that. We also have Heart, Mind, Spirit Recovery Group, which is on Wednesdays and that's from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. If you want information on that, you can contact Clarissa Crow. She's our person that's in charge of that one, and that happens every week. That's ongoing. And with all of the things that we have going on, we really want to thank you for all the donations that you are giving. We couldn't do it without you. We're so thankful and grateful. So thank you so much for everything that you've given. And if you would like to give something today, you can do text to give, and that number should be on your screen. You can do a one-time gift, or you can do a recurring gift. And recurring gifts are amazing because then we know exactly how much money we have to work with all the time, and we can plan for the future, and it just helps us stay on track. So thank you for that. You can also go on the website, abqcsl.org, to donate there, and you can do a one-time gift there as well, or set up a recurring gift. And we want to thank you again for everything. It makes everything happen here, and that we can still have this broadcast and still be here with you in spirit. So thank you again for all of that. I am going to read the Abundance Affirmation, and you should have it on your screen if you like to read it with me. I give from my heart because I'm a part of an interdependent and spirited community, a community of love and of compassion and care. I give generously and faithfully and fully aware. I am love in action, and I am creating a world that works for everyone. Ashe, Aho, Iasias, Amen, and so it is. Thank you so much.
A woman on the radio talks about revolution, though it's already passed her by. Bob Dylan didn't have to sing this song, you know. It feels good to be alive. I was alive, but I waited. I am alive, and I'm waiting for this. Right here, right now. There is no other place I'd rather be. Right here, right now. I'm watching the world wake up from history.
Hello, friends, and welcome to our series on Carencia. And I want to revisit one of the definitions that we looked at last week, which means Carencia is a place, is a space, is a sacred ground where we find ourselves that knows that we know that we know exactly who we are. Which reminds me of an old Zen master, Munindra. And Munindra was a Zen master way back in the day, out in a mountain village, and he was known for his courage and his presence. And people from all around in different villages would come to sit with him. And he heard, by way of other villagers, that there was a warrior named Khan who was terrorizing the land and holding reign over everybody he came across. And anybody who resisted him was slain. And he was moving through villages left and right. And then word came that he was just outside Munindra's village. And so the villagers came to him and said, please, he hates holy men. You've got to go hide. You must flee. And Munindra was honored by their wish to keep him safe. And he walked down to the town center and sat in the sun, peaceful. And when Khan came into the village square and found him there, he was infuriated. And he grabbed his sword and he put it to Munindra's chest and he growled at him and he said, old man, don't you know I can run you through with this sword? And Munindra, centered, peaceful, spoke directly to him and said, sir, don't you know that I can be run through without blinking an eye? He was in his Carencia. He was in that place that knew exactly what it was made of. He knew in such a centered and grounded way that even in the face of death, he was strong, he was centered. He knew exactly who he was. And when we find ourselves in that place of strength, in that place of connection to the one power, the greatest force in the universe, which we can call love, God, Spirit, whatever we are faced with, we have the opportunity to be centered and poised in our response. That is one of the gifts of knowing and being grounded in Carencia, one of the gifts of being in communion with our divine self. When we find ourselves in that most powerful place, we're connected. But if we flee from our divine natures, our Carencia, we lose touch with the essence of us that cannot be harmed. So that divine essence, that truth of who we are, the Carencia that we find in the location of that connection, but where we get connected to in that sacred space, on that ground of God, is our divine nature, is our true essence. And that essence cannot be harmed. That essence is always safe. And when we are able to really sink into that, we can stop separating ourselves from ourselves in an attempt to find safety. Because I know one of the things that we tend to do when we are feeling unsafe is we then want to go arrange life, change the layout on the deck of the Titanic so that we can feel safe. But it's a false sense of safety. These outside circumstances where we find ourselves do not make us safe. It is the true safety, I believe, we are searching for in that longing for connection, that longing to be who and what we actually are. And when we get stuck in fear, When we get sucked into this chaos and the circumstances all around us, we become like the villagers, where we believe we're really doing good. Come on, we gotta run, we gotta flee. But what we're actually running from and fleeing from is ourselves. In that fear, in that desire to guard ourselves from life itself all around us, we abandon ourselves. We abandon our true nature, which is one of strength, and that cannot be harmed, cannot be undone. We came in as this divine essence, and we will leave as this divine essence. That is the truth of who we are. And finding those spaces of querencia is when we connect to that truth. And when we are connected to that truth, the fear melts. The fear impulses, right? The reactionary impulses are no longer how we're behaving. And like I was talking about in our last session, we no longer are contributing to the mess. It is when we know who and what we are. When you know who you are as the divine emanation of the One, that you are always safe. And yet we dance. Every time I was preparing for this talk this week, I kept hearing doo doo boo doo doo boo doo doo doo. Safety dance, safety dance. And it's what we do. We dance. I am really scared, so I'm just going to go ahead and leave myself behind. I am really scared, so I'm going to leave everybody else behind. I'm going to do all the things that distracts me and defends me from what I think is putting me in danger. And so I build the defenses, right? So up come the walls and the barriers and the gates, and we all do that in really different ways, right? Some of us find ourselves binging on Netflix so that we can shut out the world. Some of us find ourselves in drug addictions, food addictions, sex addictions, gambling addictions. There's a bunch of addictions that are really good at helping us distance and defend from life. And we are attempting to care for ourselves in that, right? When we're addicted, it's not because there's something broken or wrong in us. And if you are struggling with some sort of addictive behavior or bad habit, it's not because you're broken. It's because you're trying to care for yourself. But in that caring for ourselves, and the false sense of safety we are each trying to find in all the different ways that we do it, we abandon ourselves. We abandon that location of querencia. We abandon the sacred ground that is right underneath our feet. We lose our awareness. We become unconscious. I want to share with you from Reverend Dr. Gary Simmons. Your separation creates safety in a world of uncertainty, but it also prevents you from experiencing communion. That deep desire that is related, right, to this sense of safety and wholeness that querencia provides, that longing that brings us into that space, it's not a longing for false safety. It's a longing for true safety. It's a longing for groundedness in the very ground of spirit itself. And when we separate ourselves from the ground of spirit, from our divine nature, we separate ourselves from God. We separate ourselves from the actual desire that we truly want met, which is to know the truth of who we are, to have that experience, and to know that we are a part of this greater than that is magnificent, that is love itself. It's the love we all long for. That's what that desire is. And all the ways that we try to take care of ourselves, that is actually harming ourselves, it's just false sense of care. But it's coming from that place that longs for love, that place that longs for that absolute surety, that absolute sense of groundedness in what is true. So I invite you to go into that longing, to go beneath the fear, to go beneath the false security, and really lean into that desire for connection and communion. Really lean in to the wholeness that you are. One of the things that I was really thinking about this week as I was preparing was all of the folks that we sort of look to, not just even the religious saints and the mystics, but all of the heroes and heroines of the social justice movement, the civil rights movement, all of the folks that like Martin Luther King Jr. and Gandhi and Harriet Tubman and all of the ones we look to as if, wow, they were so confident and strong, and they persevered in the face of craziness. And one of the things I realized about all of them this week is that they were all grounded in their creencia. And not only were they grounded in it, it wasn't in any specific location. They took that sacred space with them. Wherever their call took them, wherever the purpose moved them and asked for them to show up, they took the essential divine self with them. To meet all the moments, I think of all the times John Lewis was beaten nearly to death. And yet he continued to show up and say yes and answer the call because he was so solid in who and what he was. And what I know about any of these heroes and heroines is that we each have that very same divine nature in us. Remove your barriers, lower your defenses to your wholeness, and you get to just rest in your divine nature. Gary Simmons, in his book, The Eye of the Storm, also says, your soul moves you towards challenges because they stretch you in ways that separate you from your falsehoods and dependencies. What you discover is that you are not your experiences. You are greater. This distinction, I am not my experience, is a key principle in discovering your wholeness. So I want you to think about that for a minute. I am not my experience. If we're not our experiences, then what are we? Divine emanations of the One? Absolutely made of God's stuff? And if that is who we are, if we are God's creation, if the very breath of God is moving through us, then what must we defend ourselves from? What must we separate ourselves from? Why flee like the villagers from our own nature? Because the more we are willing to be in communion with our divine essence, with the truth of who we are, the more we will settle into that place of karentia, that place of strength and knowing that we are safe in every moment, no matter what the experiences out here, no matter what we are being faced with. Which then allows us to move in spirit-guided action. And so I invite you to take a minute right now and think of a time when you almost felt like something in you took over. And I know we've all had these kinds of experiences, where something in you just took over and you did something. You behaved in a way that you thought was sort of out of character. Or maybe you did way better or more, or you were stronger than you thought you could be. That's guided, divine, right action. And we have that available to us in every moment. We are able, because we're grounded in the truth of who we are. And so one of the things I want to invite you to consider this week is put down your defenses. Allow yourself to be defenseless, wide open so that you can receive the grace and the blessing and the wisdom of your own divine nature. So specifically, what I would love for you to do is consider some moment this week where you are feeling like your fear is rising. And I want you to consider a moment of pause and remembering, so that you can then respond from that place of karentia. I invite you every day this week to put down your defenses, to walk into a conversation, to walk into a store. When you go out on your evening walk, leave your armor behind. Allow yourself to meet life in that solid space of the truth of who you are. And I'll leave you today that as you identify and put your defenses down, I want you to say to yourself, I become defenseless to become the power and the presence of the One. And if you are willing to anchor that in prayer with me, to put down your defenses so you may become the power and the presence of the One, join me in prayer. What I know that I know that I know that I know is there is only one. And this one has literally gathered all the forces of all that it is and created universes. Has in one little whisper of a breath brought life to this planet. And because the power behind the literal universes and beyond is the very same power that is living as you, as me, as life itself, I know that we each say yes to opening ourselves and surrendering to that power, to letting ourselves be guided in divine right action by the wisdom living in the center of our being that is the ground of God, the greatest power in the universe, capital L, love. And I am so grateful that we each say yes in this moment, that we each put down our defenses and we allow ourselves to be that presence, revealing more love, more divinity, more safety, more strength, more beauty, more joy. The more we allow ourselves to fully and authentically move and be in the world. How grateful I am. It makes all the difference. And so I just allow that to continue to blossom and unfold, creating the gorgeous space of Carencia for all. I let it be, and so it is. Living in love, living in peace. I'm living my life, the word I believe. Joys and tears in this world I walk. God's grace shines on me, it shines on us all. We are living in grace. We are living in grace. We are living in grace. I'm living in love. We're living in peace. United we stand as one family. We honor all truth and together we walk. God's grace moves through me. It moves through us all. We are living in grace. We are living in grace. We are living in grace. We are living in grace.
Thank you all so much for being with us today and for sharing your hearts with each other. It's beautiful, beautiful thing getting to be together and getting to know that even though we're in different places, that we are one in spirit. So I just want to remind you that prayer support is always available in this community. Email us prayer@abqcsl.org, and we will hold you in prayer for the entire week. And any other information that you need, just remember abqcsl.org is your source for all of that information. I love you so much. Please join me in our final affirmation. Today is my day to dance safely and confidently with life, to deeply embrace my Carencia, to soar and unleash my joy. Have a beautiful week. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.